Okay, Verizon 4520. SPY's down 37 bips. Wow, this is wild. Okay. Verizon grew 60 basis points. Yeah, that's funny, Omar. Sava is under $1.50. Well, like all the stocks we're talking about today, like in a year or two, they'll be the same way. Like the funniest things about these shorts is that you just have to sort of be tenacious about it. If you just kind of forget about them or you don't care about them, like you'll sort of miss out on the massive gains. 'Cause the temptation is, oh, once it goes down, it's like, oh, thank God, I took all that pain. I'm finally break even to get out of it. Never again. I don't know, Verizon, the question is, can they be disrupted in any meaningful way? But yeah, so once again, I would buy J&J on this weakness. The talc thing rears its ugly head every now and then, but it always comes back from it. The only cautionary story there is that the stocks sort of had been on a tear for a while. Maybe not tear, but it had been up. There you go. It had been up quite a bit, so this dip is not the biggest dip in the world. I don't know if I like Novo. Yeah, I don't know if I'm short Newsmax just because the Petterfee connection. Normally those insiders would dump, but I don't think they're going to dump. Once I saw Petterfee in there, I said, oh. I just, if you don't have capital markets that function, like stuff like Newsmax is not, it's not good for, it's not a good thing. Gilead's going to sell one of the greatest drugs ever fairly soon here. We'll talk about that at the right time, but Gilead has a really incredible new medicine for HIV coming out. It's a twice a year injection. Okay, so Verizon has very little cash, $4 billion. So make sure you pay your wireless bill. And then they have a lot of debt. Although it looks like they've shrunk some of their debt. It's still more or less the same. So 330 billion enterprise value. So much bigger than its market cap, which is only 190. This is like super levered company. CRISPR is significant, yes. Cash flow from operations. Well, is it a utility? I would call it a utility. I don't think they'd want to characterize themselves as a utility. Okay, so free cash flow was 20 billion on the EV of 330. That's 16 times. No growth, 16 times. I mean, SpaceX can disintermediate them theoretically. Yeah, last 12 months. Although for them, last 12 months and next 12 months is the same shit. That shit don't change. Yeah, so like the question is, you got they'd be debt free in 7 years if they, basically decided to retire the debt. And like theoretically, as they retire that debt, your equity value should go up substantially from 190 to 330. Not bad. I don't know if tariffs will make much of a difference for quantum. They probably would. Quantum will probably kind of do the opposite of what the market does in some ways. Yes, Verizon has $331 billion of property, plant, and equipment. And the theory, they've spent at least. They've depreciated most of it. But the theory here is, I want you to think about this. If you're SpaceX or another competitor, okay, trying to compete with Verizon, they've spent $300 billion on equipment, $109 billion current value. They have another $150 billion of wireless licenses. So let's say if you have a new technology, you don't need the wireless licenses. Great. I think you have an information theoretical boundary here where you have to find a way to distribute information better than the $109 billion of satellites and cell towers that that they've spent money on. So unless your technology is a lot more efficient, the bandwidth is still kind of going to be at some kind of limit. That's kind of the way I think of it. Is like the big. It's very hard to short MLGO. I don't think there's a borrow at any brokerage. But yeah, it'd be nice. Newsmax 160. Yeah, so how do you replace that footprint? Nice, William. I have a Schwab account. I don't have any money in the Schwab account. That's great. I think it's worth it. And I also think that ultimately the FCC is going to say, and Verizon will complain, why is SpaceX not allowed? Why do we have to pay for wireless spectrum when SpaceX doesn't have to? It's not fair. Yeah, Newsmax might hit 1,000. In the U.S., you have to have a license. So they might say, okay, well, that's cool, Mr. Musk. We love you here at the U.S. government, but you need a space license, buddy. You need a space license. So that's something that Verizon's going to complain about. They're going to say, well, we can't compete. These license fees are killing us. INQ is up 20 cents. Hanging on for dear life. D-Wave. Let's go. Honestly, Peterfy's not selling Newsmax. The Ukrainian's not selling it. The founder's not selling it. The Qatari's not selling it. The Qatari's having a meeting right now. What should we do? I'm still typecasting too much. I don't know, Al-Tawani. What do you want to do? I want to sell this piece of shit. All the way down to $10. But the Americans will get mad. Their network. This is bullshit network. Nobody watches this bullshit. I know, Al-Tawani, but we have enough money. We don't need more. It's time to fuck up American market. Sell it all. Yeah, you can't short it easily. Habibi.
Habibi, you cannot sell this. Let it go up. Fuck it. We ball. Buy more. Buy more. Okay, Habibi, you want to play games?
Yeah, I don't see them selling it. I Petterfy's not selling it. I mean, Petterfy is such a funny dude. He might be buying it. Who did the IPO? The big question is who got the IPO shares?
Habibi, hodl. Hodl. They say this in America. Do you know hodl? No, what is it? Sheikh. Habibi, it's hang on for dear life. Sheikh, you make me laugh. Sheikh, not Jake, stupid. I will behead you. Russian sounds different. Stupid. Russian totally different from what you're talking. What you talk like this? I'm from Brighton Beach. Сука, блядь, bullshit, хорошо. Извинет. Давай, давай. Утка. You come to Brighton Beach, I'll fuck you up. I'm Brooklyn Russian. We run shit down here. I haven't been in Brighton Beach in a while. Пиздец. Yeah, Sheepshead Bay, Midwood. There were Russians back then. But they've taken over. It's the Red Scare. I've had Israeli friends. Man, what a tongue. That is a that is a funny one. I'm not making fun. I make the Jewish I make the Jewish accent all the time. There's a difference between saying Jews are greedy, which is terrible and really a awful thing to do because it's perpetuating a stereotype that's not true, and saying Russians are drunks, which is perpetuating a stereotype that is true. Hebrew, L'chaim, come to Brighton Beach. We'll teach you. We'll teach you Hebrew. We'll teach you Yiddish. Stereotypes associated with Albanians. Criminal. Gigantic criminal. Russians kind of did make Brighton Beach great again, in a way. German stereotype. Very good engineers. Very smart. Bro, Albanians have to stop, bro. You're doing too much, bro. You're gonna kick us out of the fucking... I mean, we're not in the EU, but I don't know what they're... kick us out of or something. It's not good, man. We got to change. Got to evolve. Thankfully, we have Mira Muradi, the new Albanian queen. Dua Lipa's just a singer. Buffett doesn't use a computer, but he does spreadsheets on pen and paper. She's probably a criminal too. Dua Lipa. I don't know. Albanian women aren't. It's not good for them to do what the men do. The men do whatever. Albanian women are taught to ignore it. Well, I was looking at the She's Candy numbers for She's Candy. I haven't seen something like this since 1965. Me and Charlie were eating a peanut brittle as our due diligence. Peanut brittle. No, I've never been to the Berkshire event. You know, I love Buffett, but that's where I draw the line. I'm not glazing. I'm not going to an in-person glaze fest. Sorry, I got my own glazing to do. Now you glaze it. That is a great question, Tug. I don't know that we have that good answer yet. But we do need that. We will provide that. Yeah, probably Owen. They did, Joey. They did. A while back. Okay, yeah, so what do you make of Verizon? Free cash flows 18 billion, 24 billion, 19 billion, 14 billion, 19 billion, 20 billion. Average 19 billion. So remarkably steady. Look at this revenue. Look at the revenue over the last 6 years. Do you guys see this? MA like M&A? yeah, I mean the no inflation is really kind of crazy if you think about it. Yeah, we can do that, Jonas. Yeah. I don't even remember the MA function, to be honest, which is pretty wild because it must be a new thing. No, I'm not going to stream with Destiny, okay? The fuck out of here. He's such a fucking bozo. I can't believe some of you guys think he's smart. Somebody I know is like, he's the smartest person I know. Like, you got to get out more. So MA mergers and acquisitions, we could definitely do that. Let's look at some of the Verizon paper, okay? So here's what I want you to do. Think about this. $20 billion in free cash flow. So EV to free cash flow. Think about it this way. Instead of doing the PE ratio or EV to FCF ratio, flip it on its side. Do the reciprocal, and that think of that as like an earnings yield or a bond yield. Now we're doing it on enterprise value, which the EV will sink as the debt's paid off theoretically, but it should just transfer to market cap. So the EV should probably stay flat. But either way, think of it like a dividend yield at 6%. So I'm going to look at some of these bonds. Let's see some of this paper. Okay, so I'm looking at the 2035s. Yeah, it's not going to change the EV, but so this is the 4/2/2035 5.25 paper. That's that red. And the yield right now is 5.139%. Okay, the same treasury for the same expiry is 4.63. So this is a corporate bond. Got it? This is 51 basis points higher yield. You guys get that? Than the treasuries. Pay attention. Well, the stock-based comp, that's already not in free cash flow. So okay, so this is the Verizon bond, and this is the U.S. Treasury. They both expire roughly 10 years from now, roughly. Okay? So would you rather own, which of these would you rather own? You can buy the stock, which is yielding 6.06%. You can buy the U.S. Treasury, which is risk-free, yielding 4.63%. You can buy the Verizon senior bond for 5.14%. The bond is senior to the equity, right? So it kind of makes sense that the equity yields sort of less than the bond, or more than the bond, I should say, because it's riskier. bond is basically guaranteed. You have a lot of price risk on the stock. The price can go all over the place, but so can the bond. And if you think about it, Verizon can buy back all of the shares in 15 years. The whole company. You think Verizon's going to be here 15 years from now? Yeah, definitely, right? We're still going to be using phones, probably. We're going to still be using the internet, and Verizon runs, both. So is the equity as safe as the bond? I don't think so. If some emerging technology comes out, then Verizon can pay the debt off, but I don't know if the equity is going to be worth anything. These are senior unsecured. There is a make whole, there's a call, there's all kinds of nonsense in here. The call is only at in 2035. So I mean, they're fundamentally different bets, right? Like, you like that bond? Huh. It's a lot of debt Verizon has. You got 6 years of debt to get to that bond. Remember, Verizon is in some ways, Baby Bell. It's a Baby Bell that's all grown up. So I think this is a good stock if you can get comfortable with technological risk and see how consistent the revenue is. You do have a bit of a deflationary product, which isn't great. And the question is, like, will revenue start to drop over time? Shrinking population actually does affect them. That's right. I think at some point, capacity outstrips bandwidth. There's only so much Netflix you want to watch on your cell phone. So, like, are we at that point where, bandwidth maybe actually finally kind of craters? It's never happened, but it is something to sort of consider. Got to consider everything in this game. Verizon has built out, constantly builds out and refurbishes their gigantic network. That's kind of their moat, right? Nobody's got one of these things. It's pretty hard to have a national fiber network that's fiber and wireless network that's so expansive. But look at revenue. I mean, revenue has not grown in 8 years. And the fact it hasn't even grown by inflation is troubling. And but for kind of the spectrum licenses, I guess one thing with the spectrum is that, like, I don't know if multiple carriers could operate in a world where, like, spectrum was unlicensed, right? I think you kind of do need the spectrum to be orderly, distributed in an orderly way. But I'm no telecom analyst. But I would think that that's part of it. They're not spending money on buybacks, that's for sure. Share count has not changed. It's kind of grown by inflation. No, it's pretty free market. I think they've basically sold Yahoo off. Okay, 2017 was a rough year for them, actually. Not sure why. I think they had like a big tax, some kind of weird tax thing. They only had $7 billion in free cash flow. It's as Elon would say, concerning. It's concerning. Yeah, they basically got out of that deal. Verizon doesn't want to do media after all. Yeah, so there's the last 13 years for Verizon. 1% average revenue growth, well below inflation. Pretty tough to grow. They give it all the details like pricing and the amount of lines and all this stuff, but like, it's a pretty simple business to understand. So they definitely had 2 years there. Maybe that was a 5G build out. I don't know what, but they had 2 years there in 16 and 17 that were pretty rough. Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to grow. I would not be bullish on any growth here. This is just a dividend play. Here now we're going back 16 years on Verizon. Maybe the average revenue growth rate was 2%, so closer to inflation. But that's now over the last 16 years. Gotta take the long-term view on these companies. Looking at the quarters, probably not going to do you any good. I mean, free cash flow has grown over time. Got to give them some credit for that. That's a leaner operation, and they're probably going to benefit from AI quite a bit. I mean, most of their costs are in hardware and stuff like that, but yeah, they got some SG&A. They save $1 billion or $2 billion. That's not a small thing. They would benefit quite a lot. You know, that's why like the biggest beneficiaries of AI are probably going to be the enterprise. Okay, here they grew quite a lot. I wonder if there's an acquisition or something. And then I also wonder if the divestment of Yahoo or other assets changed revenue. I mean, cash flow has definitely grown over time here. Kind of the 14, 15 billion range to the 19, 20 billion range over time. So that's not bad. Yeah, I like this. I like this stock. Fuck it. Verizon, Amex. We got a couple longs, really conservative stocks, and short the bullshit. And you can't complain at the end. Oh wow, IonQ has rallied here. S&P has rallied. S&P only down 16 basis points while we were away looking at a stock.